how incredibly important the healthcare system is. And coming out the other side of this, it has to be one of the most important industries in the world. And we are seeing how different cultures have different values around that. And there's certain levels of vulnerability across our world which need to be seriously looked at, because this can't continue. I mean, the distribution of wealth, I mean, there's so much about capitalism to a certain extent is the mirrors coming up and saying hello. It's almost as though nature has said, okay, you guys, world, we're going to put you on pause and invite you to think about what, it's a bit like the dolphin chair, about what you are doing to this world of yours, you know, and what you are doing to nature, and is this sustainable?
It's like a go back to your rooms and think about what you did. It's like, I want you to think about it. Yeah.
It's about you are destroying me as the world, nature in particular, because look at nature now. I mean, look at my window and I don't see, apart from a cloud in the sky, I don't see strips of smoke in the sky left by polluting planes.
Agreed.
As you have blue skies in Karachi, you have blue skies in New Delhi, you have blue skies in the most polluted places. How long has this taken to happen?
Agreed.
But I think there are different levels that, you know, the VUCA level is hitting us at all different levels, and it's about how to manage that from the very VUCA you're feeling inside yourself is, oh my God, how am I going to get back on my feet? To what about society? How is society, how are countries, individual countries, going to get back on their feet? And what does that look like as we're trying to interact with one another? The economy. What are the big, you know, it's enormous.
Yeah. So in this context, and thank you for sharing what you did, in this context, where do the 5 chairs come in? I want now for you, if you could, to introduce
well, you know what, I have just sort of, I usually use 5 chairs in the training room, as you know, because you use the technology. But as I can't get 5 chairs here, I decided, look what I've done here. I've got 5. I want to introduce you to
Yes.
There they are.
Wow.
So the 5 chairs, it's basically a tool. The idea of the 5 chairs is, I was just looking in the, when I'm looking here, I'm sometimes looking in the chat. I'll leave that up to you. Maybe you can pick up some things.
Yeah.
Each chair has a color, it has a name, it has a color, a name, it has a quote related to it, and an animal metaphor, and also an object. I mean, so the idea is that it's all about behaviors, and it's about the fact that in any moment we can choose which behaviors to bring into the world, and they're going to have, the behaviors that we bring into the world are going to have an impact, a massive impact in everything that happens around us. So more than ever, I think, especially at home, we have to be very careful and very conscious about how we're behaving with one another, because the family nucleus is extremely important right now. We need to maintain as much harmony as possible.
Absolutely.
And it's not easy, because all of us are going to have, you know, whether it's teenagers, whether it's young children, whether it's parents, we're all going to have our different worries and etc. But it's like parents, the pressure on parents to keep the boat afloat, I think, is quite enormous when they're also dealing with the outside pressures. So the idea is, okay, so each chair, so this chair here is the attack chair. It's the red chair. And actually the colors I've taken from the chakras. I don't know if I actually told you about that when I was with so this is the red chakra, which is the genital area. So, I mean, when we're in this chair, we misbehave. Basically, we judge and we criticize and we complain and we blame. I mean, look at the amount of blame that has happened in this period between governments. Who is the cause of it? Blaming our governments right now. I mean, we're very quick to blame, we're very quick to judge, we're very quick to criticize, but these are unprecedented times. So And it's a bit like in the change curve, you know, or the grief curves, when you go
Yeah.
through denial and then disbelief and anger and
Anger.
frustration,
Yeah. Mhm.
and it all comes here.
Yeah.
So, and it's where we have our adrenaline and our cortisol. And of course, they're saying, you know, the more you're sitting here, the more you're affecting your immune system, because the more you have those adrenaline and cortisol in your body, then
Yeah.
it's going to affect your immune system, which right now is absolutely essential for us to survive. But I think another thing which is worrying me quite a lot here is social media. There's quite a lot of toxic messaging coming out and fake news, which people are digesting, and maybe not. It's causing confusion as well, and maybe people are not stopping and thinking. Wait a minute, before I forward this, is there any truth in this? Because there's no filters on social media.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're finding, we're watching television, which, you know, I mean, television is bad enough itself, you know, but it's cleaner in a way than social media is. So a lot of jackaling. Okay, so the animal is the jackal. I think you have one there, don't you?
I do. I do. I have the
Gosh,
jackal with me.
you do as
Yes,
well,
I
and
do.
here.
Do you? You you got your jackal with you as well. Okay,
But
this is neat.
yours is slightly different. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So I mean,
Pakistani jackal.
hmm? Yes, I mean the fun about this basically is, you know, when we're working in the training room, it's like these are. This is to remind us that when we are in this chair with the claim with our toxic behaviors, they
Yeah,
have an impact.
yeah,
So it's about what impact am I having on the person I'm with, on my family, on my team in the organization, on society in general. It's like, you know, maybe I can actually turn the volume down a little bit.
yes,
I mean, not scold the jackal, because the jackal is here to protect us,
yeah,
but it doesn't know when to protect us. It sort of, you know, thinks that we're in survival mode when we're actually not. So jumps in inappropriately and judging people all the time. And,
he's watching you. Like, what's going on?
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, the big bird. So, you know, I think as far as the today and the virus is concerned, we've got to be very, very careful here. This one here, you remember that? You tell me. What's
Yes,
that one?
the yellow one.
Yeah.
The yellow one is the hedgehog.
Okay. Great. The
Yes.
hedgehog. The yellow is the hedgehog, and the name of the head. This chair is. I'm putting you to the test here.
I am now doubting whether I remember the name or no.
Brilliant. Very good. So that was a clue there.
Yeah,
So this is about self-doubt, and I think this is massive in this period. I mean, a lot of it is about fear. A lot of it is about the ability that we have as human beings to imagine a future. And we often, when we are imagining a future, we catastrophize and develop fairly strong, unrealistic stories, devastating stories. We beat
yeah,
ourselves up here. I mean, this is a chair where it's about how the fear, how do we mitigate this fear when we hear, because it's about what am I going to do tomorrow? What if I don't have a job? What if this? What if, what if, what if, what if? And the longer you stay in that frame of mind, the more depressed you will become. And I think leaders right now are going through a lot of dark
what is up there?
moments.
Yeah,
Is like, you know, I'm afraid of failing. I don't know what to do, and I'm afraid to say that. And I think one of the biggest moments of courage right now is for leaders to actually be able to be communicating a lot and saying, you know, guys, I don't know,
I don't know. Yeah,
and feel okay
yeah,
about that. Because obviously, as leaders, we always want to, the leaders want to give answers, but this is unprecedented. So a very interesting point here. We're in touch with the business leaders that we work with, and you know what they're saying about the workforce, what they're doing, because in Italy we're quite far ahead now in this process, and they're doing surveys to the workforce about what people need more of as they find themselves in this situation of being at home. And you know what's come up? Two important things. One is flexibility. is that I cannot, if I'm at home with young children, I cannot say to my 3-year-old, Daddy or Mummy is going to the office between 9 and 5. And so that's one thing.
Yeah.
Even if you have teenagers, what if you're alone? A lot of people who are alone are working too hard. They're in the front of the screen all the time. They have less distractions. So companies are saying, make sure you have a lunch break. Make sure you have 15 minutes between each meeting, things like that. So it's about flexibility. They're saying, please trust us that we will work. When we need, we will do the work, but we will do it when we need to, which could be at 6 o'clock in the morning when the family is asleep, or even at 11 o'clock at night, which often I find women are working at 11 o'clock at night when everybody's in bed. So please trust us. And when companies say, okay, we trust you, they feel better, but it's the level of stress goes up when companies are actually saying, no, you have to be in this hour block, and it's not working.
Yeah.
The other big question is, we want to hear from top management. People seem to be communicating quite well between teams, but we want to hear the news. How are the factories working? How is it? What does the future like? Even if it's, we don't know.
Yeah.
Please stay in touch. Because toxic silence, silence will become toxic. People will then tell their own stories and invent stuff which was going to impact the next.
That space or void gets filled by itself unless you address it. Absolutely.
Right. Particularly right now with much more sort of negative thinking than in normal times. So this needs a lot of self-care. Is when we get into our darker moments. It's like leaders, I think they've got to absorb so much fear and doubt. They've got to be able to take that on when they're going through it themselves. This is challenging.
Yeah. So what about, because we're coming in with questions now, but I want you to complete the 5 before we jump in, because
brilliant. We got those 5. So this one here. Okay, so this one here is green. The chakra here is the solar plexus. We're moving up now to the heart, which is the chakra of the heart. Yes. And this is the meerkat. Not everybody knows what a meerkat is. No. Okay, so if you've seen The Lion King, then it's that animal which sits up straight. This, well done. Brilliant. I love it. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Superb.
This is the meerkat.
Yes, it sits up like that. It's very vigilant. It has brilliant skills of observation. And I think if we're looking at the role of this chair, the chair is weight. So WAIT, what am I thinking? What am I telling myself? And I think in this particular moment is less, we're on hold anyway. And it's about stepping back and thinking and analyzing and looking and watching and it's curiosity. It's a chair of curiosity. So here it's about what are our options in this space of stillness. Because this is about meditation. It's about taking care of ourselves. It's about managing our emotions rather than being managed by our emotions, and stepping back and having a look, small picture, big picture. And certainly in organizations, I can see people moving between what's worst case scenario and what's opportunity for the future. And I think, business leaders are trying to be as affirmative as possible and asking people, let's take the time now to think about the future. When we have the time, and reorganize things and what worked and what didn't work. And as we go back in and as we open up, how are we going to invite people back so that they feel safe? All sorts of fascinating ideas, which I think if you hand it over to your teams to think about, keeps them busy and part of the solution as we move forward.
Absolutely. I think that's important. They're part of the solution then, thinking of how do we get out of this, which is,
yeah, exactly. So staying flexible basically here, being patient, pausing.
I am so sorry you're having to rush through this.
Yes, well.
But take your time, don't worry about it.
Okay, and you know what? I've got another thing which you don't know about. There is an object which goes with it, which is this.
Okay. It's like a magic.
This is a magic wand. It's a
Yeah.
magic wand, and it invites us to stop and think and step back and observe. Because you know how reactive we are is, you know, stimulus response. This is like saying, okay, let's step back and think about it.
Yeah.
You know, take some time for contemplation, because we need to contemplate really about what are we doing in this world, and what do we want to change? Can we
Yeah.
change it?
Yeah.
So much to contemplate,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
or are we stuck here and, you know, and
That's
all the rest of it.
uh, that's actually been my thrust in the conversations that I've had with people. Uh, that it's a good time to ask the big questions in life. Not what job will I be doing in a year? No, not that. No, not
Yes.
how much money am I going to be making, but the
Yes.
really big questions.
It,
And yeah, I think so. The green chair invites us to do that, to ponder.
yeah, it's to ponder, and in fact, moving into this chair, which I think, you know, backing up what you said, this chair here, the blue chair, is the dolphin chair.
Yeah.
Do you have any dolphins in Pakistan?
Oh yeah, 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 we do. We've got in Sindh we have white blind dolphins. They're yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh. So this is the detect chair, and the this isn't the object for this is this.
Ooh,
It's a mirror. So, you know, if I look, if a dolphin looks at the mirror, it sees itself. It doesn't see another dolphin. It's one of the few mammals or animals
mammals.
which actually sees itself. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like elephants, they also see themselves. So they have a self-awareness, which is extraordinary. If you think about, if we want to take a mirror and look at ourselves right now and what we are doing to the world, well, I think that there are many answers coming. What are we doing to nature? What's happening? What about the healthcare system
yeah,
worldwide? What about nuclear? What about global warming? All of these things, we're doing it.
yeah,
And isn't it extraordinary that nature is healing in a few weeks, for example? When we get off the planet, as it were, what
hmm,
happens?
yeah,
Or we are forced to stop. So, but here, part of this chair here is extremely important for everybody right now. It is the antidote to this one. It's about, it's in this time I need to take courage. I need to um, be stoic. You know, stoic is something which I was speaking about with a friend some time ago. Stoicism has bad press, but Stoicism actually came from Marcus Aurelius back in, what is it, what, 121.
PC,
Uh,
AP.
yeah, BC. Yeah, and it was all about resilience. Actually, the messages coming out were, we need courage, we need wisdom, we need moderation, we need choice. You know, we need to be, um, the endurance and resilience comes, we know about this. It's been around forever. And so this is about, what do I need to look after myself and take care of myself? You know, because if I am not taking care of myself and not managing myself, how am I going to help other people? So this one here is and again, it's the mirror of the world. As we move forward, how are we going to look after the world? How are we going to look after the vulnerable in the future? So the responsibility, it's about your ability to respond.
The blue one.
Our ability as a world to respond, and our accountability is, what are we accountable for? How can we account for our behaviors up until now? But there's the fear for me behind that is that there, in the world right now, there are governments that are not so interested in uh, that question, in the sense of how can we heal the world.
Yeah,
We're in a tricky situation because the messaging that comes out from of governments, these are times for opportunity for authoritarian governments sometimes, because it's a platform for visibility, the wrong type of visibility. And my fear is always like, what can I do as an individual to stop this? Because we know that in certain countries in the world there is most definitely, you know, forms of
The red chair.
the red chair in countries which are declared democracies as well. So that for me is a source of depression, I have to say, maybe. But then what do? You can only come down. This is about at an individual level. Who can I affect? Only the people living around
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
my immediate community. What can I do to help my immediate community? It can be small acts, maybe, of, but that's in my control. So much stuff is out of my control, and I can't spend time there. It's about understanding, keeping my energy up. Because if I think about what I can't control, I'm going to get depressed. So this chair is inviting us to be realistic. So that's the dolphin chair. And the last one is, I think you have, do you, I think you've got the animal related to this.
I do.
Let's see if we have the same. Yes, I love it. So that's the giraffe. You know, I've got something, such fun here. Look, let me show you. I love your giraffe. We have slightly different.
Whoa.
Never mind, no,
Is that like a yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah, so this, look at this here. This. Now, this is funny because this is from Marshall Rosenberg and Nonviolent Communication. What a wonderful
Okay.
gift to the
Yep.
world he gave. But here, it's really about, yeah, this is about listening, because I ride the giraffe, because the giraffe has the biggest heart
Yeah.
of all land animals. Therefore, we are consciously expanding our hearts here and going in all the motions. All it's about tolerance, it's about understanding, it's about empathy, it's about altruism, it's gratitude, etc. And I think this here is about, can I hear the world? You know, can I connect to people? Can I connect to people who are sacrificing their lives for us every day out in the front line? I have a family of doctors. 50% of them have got the coronavirus right now, and they're fighting it and getting better. But you know, we've lost 100 doctors in Italy and about 70 nurses. I think the statistics are tough. And so this is the chair of empathy. It's the giraffe chair, and it's the connection chair. And I think what we're seeing is the beautiful in Italy, and I'm sure it's going to happen, it's happening all over the world, is the creative connection, is how people are finding new ways to connect with extraordinary collective orchestras, collective choirs, music, sitting on balconies, talking to people, sharing music, offering to do shopping for people. There are so many things that we can do at a local level to keep the bubbles of energy around us high.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's, we have a choice. The idea of the 5 chairs is that in any moment we're going to be triggered very often, especially now. We can just be triggered by our kids at home, but before snapping, so our reaction could be, oh, for God's sake, go and play and go and read. Whereas, you know, in this chair we're saying, oh, okay, darling, I can see you're unhappy and frustrated. What do you need?
Yeah.
So how good are we right now to try and stay out of these chairs, look after ourselves, give ourselves a big hug when we're getting frustrated, you know, give ourselves a big hug, and maybe we try as much as possible to live in this sphere here, where we are trying to be emotionally stable, trying to understand what, as individuals, we need to contribute positively to the situation, staying away from this. And how can we contribute? What can we do? You know, that's a lot of energy
It is.
here.
It is.
You know, when you're
I,
trying to actually deal with your own pain and suffering, and you know,
yeah.
but it's the chairs remind us. It's like, okay, where am I? Okay, you're in the red chair. That's not going to help actually. Give yourself a hug, move on. Think about maybe what are your needs, how you're feeling, address those, and then how is my family feeling? How's my people in the workplace feeling? What are the needs and feelings of people around me? Big for business leaders now, big for governments. And also Do I continuously want to criticize my government? In Italy, we have a technical prime minister right now who's doing an amazing job. He really is an extraordinary job. And I get so frustrated when all people can do is just criticize, even in unprecedented times, rather
Yeah,
than say,
yeah,
just a minute, step
yeah,
back and think about this. Nobody has any answers, but we have somebody who represents us, who is trying his best. He's trying even to keep Europe together, which is a massive task in
yeah,
itself. So we should be very grateful.
yeah, yeah. Wow, fantastic. Thank you so much uh, for that introduction. And it is important to understand that the red and the yellow chairs are or drain a lot of energy out of you. Uh, that energy is either going to be taken out on others in the form of the red chair, or it's going to be brought out upon yourself in the form of the yellow chair. But the
Mm.
visual representation, I think, like Louise said, is absolutely essential. Just check yourself. Uh, Ask yourself where you are, and if you do find yourself in the red or the yellow chair, consciously we're going to have to move. Fantastic.
But even and even when I think the consciousness is the most important thing, but if you are upset and fed up, just say it. Because I think what the mistake we make is that we are upset, and sometimes we feel when we don't express it, people can't read our minds, but they will misinterpret our intentions. But especially at home, if you can say, "Look, I just need, I'm having a bad moment. I need to be alone. Don't take this badly. I just need a break." People can deal with transparency of emotions, but it's the trouble begins when we don't. I mean, the dolphin, the chakra is the chakra of expression. It's the throat.
Oh,
We learn to speak up here.
yeah,
And the more you are transparent and speak up, especially now, the more people will not misjudge you, not misinterpret you, and maybe the atmosphere will be more transparent. We don't do it enough, really.
agreed, agreed. And I think that's also the point that it becomes very, very important if you're in organizations or if you're managing people and if you're a leader. It'll do you a lot of good if you could just listen to people, because people are gonna have feelings, and if they are earning for their households, they're not gonna display those on their dependents, right? They're not gonna tell someone who's dependent on them that I'm afraid or I'm confused. So it's good if you could just talk to your people, just listen to them,
I love that.
maybe.
I love that. And it's also because the connection is really tough when you're not in a room with your team and you touch each other and you do. And I think somebody put in the chat, you can't replace human touch.
Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely not. I mean, that is the essential connection that we feel. It's such a deep level. But I think, it is how can we make the best use of this type of connection that we have right now, and to be very conscious about, okay, it's the second best, but we can still do a lot. How do we get people to speak about their emotions in this setting, which seems to be cold? But can we create a context of psychological safety in this setting? So we need to help. I mean, people get timid. People want to hide. They don't show their faces,
yeah,
because there's a self-consciousness, that can happen in this type of, or people sort of just fall asleep and think, oh, I don't need to contribute. How can we become better at communicating like this? Because we don't know how long this is going to go on for. And this is the only, I mean, I think young people are better than we are, probably at, I feel like a bit of a dinosaur. But I mean, we we can learn, and this has many opportunities.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's just I'm just gonna go through the comments and the questions now, Louise, because I think there were some important ones and some interesting ones.
Right.
We have Rao Sakib. I think this was our first question. And basically, the question is, sometimes behaviors are entrenched. People have been used to a chair and they've lived in that chair for decades.
Yes.
And so if someone's been in that chair for 30 years, 40 years,
Yes.
is there hope? Is there?
I love that question. I love that question. I think the thing is that there is hope if the person realizes that they are always in the red chair, always in the yellow chair.
Mm,
The trouble is when they're not even conscious of it. What I found with the TED Talk, comments that have come in under the TED Talk, some people saying, "Oh God, I didn't even realize that I've spent most of my life in the red and yellow chair, but that I had a choice."
Yeah.
So it, I think it acts as a mirror. Is that oh God, I'm often a hedgehog. What then? It's up to the individual to decide if they want to change or not. If they perceive this is actually holding them back in their lives, then it's up to every individual to make an effort. And it's hard to change an entrenched habit.
Yeah.
But the awareness that it is an entrenched habit and it could be having a negative impact on other people's allows you to do certain things like try and change, talk about it and realize and say, look, I know I'm a bit of a, I come across as being tough sometimes. I realize that, and I'm sorry. The idea here is that it's a door which we can open, and then you have to go through and do the work, and that work is difficult because you're going to find maybe some demons, your own demons, and a lot of times people don't want to even go there because anyway, it's their fault. It's nothing to do with me.
With me. Yeah. 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 It has to be then in some way a voluntary exercise. Um, and and sometimes I think it's also helps, and I may be wrong, I'm just gonna put this there. Sometimes it also helps for you to look for the blue or the purple in the other person.
Yes.
Because if you just see the red in them, then your behavior is going to reinforce that red.
That's beautiful. So it's like saying this person is going, and this chair is going, wow. Well, the first chair is going, wow, this person is angry.
Yeah.
This chair is saying, now there must be a good reason because we don't do anger for fun.
Yeah.
And I want to try and understand what is going on in this person's world. And if I come out of the chair, a sense of curiosity and a willingness to try and understand that person, then connection can happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you go, that person is going, and you get into the red chair yourself, or even into the, then this is where things break down.
Yeah. Absolutely. Fantastic. And I think Moaz Khan asked a similar question, so we've kind of covered that. Then we have Meredith. Do you think that this is an opportunity for reset on the computer of humanity? And how will the message get across to those who make policy? I've had discussions with a few people in Pakistan and outside. And so far, what I've heard is that the policymakers, the influencers, are not having the conversation that you and I are having right now. The conversation hasn't gotten to this point. Louise, what do you?
I hate to say that I am a little bit pessimistic about this because I don't know how good we are as a society in general to changing. How many times have we been through situations where we know we have short memories?
Yeah.
We need very powerful, enlightened leaders right now. The messaging that is coming out right now of the phase that we are going through as we're transitioning is extremely important. But if people are not actually thinking at that level, I mean, people are actually involved in governments at a very fundamental level, survival level of just keeping countries afloat. When we get to a stage where we're getting into the big messaging is how do we want to, I mean, you see some leaders saying from now on, the most important industry in the world has to be
Healthcare.
the healthcare. It has to be.
Yeah.
So there are people who are, but they're actually not necessarily in governments either. They might, So I'm worried a little bit about this is an opportunity. There could be a reset, but every individual has to reset.
Yeah.
As well. And how much do we trust this ability for human beings to learn? I mean, it was pretty poor as we were watching China showing us the lessons. And was anybody listening?
Yeah.
Okay, so Italy came into Italy and then we got it wrong. We were slow. Did anybody listen to Italy? And then we get to America, disaster. So I'm a little bit worried that we still aren't evolved enough to, I don't know, I'm hoping it's wrong that we can stay long enough in these bubbles of ours to actually do some serious thinking and maybe affect, at least affect some change around ourselves. And I think every individual needs to do that.
Absolutely. If I could just add a bit to that, again, go back to your stoicism conversation.
Mhm.
Stoics, and in Pakistan, or in the Islamic culture, we have Sufis,
Yes,
and they're
beautiful.
often kept like very close. And one of the things that the Sufi perspective on this, Meredith, is that your responsibility is yours,
Mm.
uh, and you change the world by example, not by telling people to change, right? So what you and I can do is that as
Mm.
individuals, we can look at our footprints, we can make sure that we're not doing anything in excess, we can make sure that in our relationships we make things right. And that's the that should be the crux of it. So when I meet Meredith, I should say, that woman has just impressed me so much, I'm going to start living like she does. And hopefully that kind of.
That's beautiful. And that's so beautiful. And it's about the conversations we're having and when people are being jackals and blaming and complaining and blah, blah, which is what the human being does so well. It's the easiest thing to do.
Yeah.
It's our responsibility to invite them to go into a different space. Just in our conversations, or if you're going to share whatever you're sharing on social media, what comes through is inviting people to stop and think, wait a minute, what are we doing here? What messages do we want to forward and not? What are we trying to create every day as individuals? Because there's a responsibility there too. What are
Absolutely.
we saying to our children? You know.
So using whatever influence you have in a way that you
Yes.
can hopefully create a better world, and we will, inshallah. Okay, so we've
Yeah.
got Fatima here, who says, understanding the human nature, we are afraid of failure. uh, Being empathetic to self and self-compassion uh, is difficult when we confuse uncertainty with failure,
Mm.
and therefore we are sat in the second chair. uh,
Mm.
I don't quite understand the question.
Yeah, uncertainty and failure are really quite different, aren't they?
Yeah.
Because but with uncertainties, we don't. It's interesting because I think failure is something that we have control over. But well, to a certain extent. But I think the problem is failure is we're setting up incredibly high expectations of ourselves in
Yeah.
situations.
Yeah.
And we say that we think we are failures when actually we're always doing our best in the
Best.
moment. And
Yeah.
sometimes we don't have the tools we need to do what is appropriate for the situation. And so we go into self-blame and I'm not good enough and all of that. And we have to be very empathetic with ourselves,
Yeah.
that failure is that we're not doing something maybe to the optimal level, but we have to forgive ourselves. We can't be behaving, because we're here to learn, so we're behaving with what tools we have. Whether uncertainty is something that is very often created from externally. And there again, it's about how am I going to manage uncertainty? Well, I think it's breaking it down to in the uncertainty, where is my sphere of control
Control.
and where not?
Yeah.
And let's concentrate all the energy on where I can control things and not spend time. That's back to stoicism.
Yeah.
We make a decision is where I can control things. I will then contribute. I don't know if that answered the question, but I mean, I can see the difference between failure and uncertainty, and we're not good at being empathetic with ourselves when we think we fail.
We're
I
not.
think we
We're
need
not.
to give ourselves a lot more.
I don't know if you remember or no, but when we did the workshop together, when you ask people to go to the chairs that they're most often in, I was the yellow chair. I've spent my life in the yellow chair. I mean, I've always been doubting myself. But it's possible to overcome it. I mean, you just gotta, and like you said earlier,
But
once
you had the courage of the dolphin to go there
and stand in
because
the yellow chair.
yes,
Thank you.
because a lot of people refuse. to admit
Yeah.
that they have
Oh yeah,
self-doubt.
yeah. I mean, Pakistani men are not allowed to do that. You cannot
No,
have
no.
self-doubt. Okay, fair enough. Take it. So that's that. Then we have uh, Saima, and she says, in the majority of cases, it becomes complex when you are constantly stuck somewhere between the yellow and the green chair. You are
Mm.
uncertain about what's coming next while you have
Yeah.
to keep others motivated. So I think Saima's in a position of leadership and she's just thinking, how do
Yes.
I deal with the,
Yeah, and I think again it's about how you manage the uncertainty. The uncertainty usually has creates in us the reaction of fear and worry and it's how good are we at looking at uncertainty as curiosities. Oh wow, this is uncertain. Let's look at this from a point of view of total curiosity,
yeah,
because otherwise uncertainty is going to create fear in us and we're going to slip back into this chair here because we feel that maybe we have to solve it, and I can't do that. I can't solve it, therefore I'm a failure and I have to solve it. But we spend our whole lives thinking we have to solve other people's problems, whereas most of the time, as you said, what we need to really do is sit and listen. And I think with uncertainty, to a certain extent, it's the same. Is if we explore uncertainty, somehow it loses its power.
power. Yeah, yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
yeah. Is that a function of courage then? We should just be brave
Yeah,
enough to say, okay, let's just sit down and figure this out. Let's not be,
yeah.
yeah,
It is. It's from here. It's like saying, okay, I'm feeling very uncertain. I noticed that, and my need is for certainty. So let's sit down and talk about what that looks like.
mm,
But we're going into very clear communication with yourself.
no, yeah,
You look at yourself, you say, I'm feeling this. Okay, got it. If you give recognition to your emotions, they will change, they will alleviate a bit.
yeah.
Then you go into what do I need, what are my needs, and how do I satisfy my needs? And then you're actually breaking down the uncertainty so it's manageable.
Yeah, yeah, fantastic, fantastic. Okay, Fatma says that the earlier questions that we were confused about if we got right or wrong, she says she got her answer, so thank you very much. Karen says that she just wanted to say hi to you from the US, so a hi from Karen.
Ooh, lovely. Great.
Then we have a very long question. Okay, let me see. Abdullah Afzal says, we always talk about governments not being empathetic and that they
Mm.
aren't taking the measures in the right direction. I want to
Mm.
understand that the people in bureaucracies and legislatures are from us. Why they may, why they fail to connect. No, maybe we fail to connect with them in a fashion that is fruitful? Is the process of evolving to the echelons such that the human from them or there is something else? Where is the lacuna? It's a universal thing. How do you reflect on this? They are from us. I mean,
I think as I say, we've been living this on a daily basis in Italy, and it's driving us crazy. In a time of need, when we're all in the same boat, when and people who are running our governments have been elected by us.
us.
Isn't it convenient that when we get into trouble, we can start pointing fingers at people that we have elected? So this is very frustrating because if anything, what the government needs is understanding, because they are trying to suss out what is the next step. I mean, we have models which are coming out of China.
Yeah,
I don't think we're listening enough
we're not.
to your part of the world, where a lot of, I think China's leading the whole process here, but we're not listening enough. Are we listening to the pain the governments are having? And also, I mean, even the internal bickering which happens in Italy so much, at a platform now where the Prime Minister is trying to find a way to help Italy through, we're getting infighting between parties, which is wasting energy, time, setting a very bad example rather than saying, this is what we need, understanding, empathy. We have to move forward together. Look at Europe. I mean, we're all right now Europe seems to be coming together, but there are very difficult moments, and what we need now is understanding, and we need cooperation. So, and we put those people there, and they are representing us. I
Agreed, 100.
not all of us, obviously, but the majority.
Yeah, no, and a parallel needs to be drawn. I mean, we sit at homes, and right now we're confused about the infighting with our spouses and our families, right? So it's just that same thing on a bigger scale. It's okay when you make an effort or when I make an effort and the spouse doesn't recognize it. It's the same thing, you know. The other person is making an effort. You don't see it, it's okay. You can recommend or suggest things. Don't doubt them or do things that are counterproductive. You know, everyone's trying. We gotta have faith. We gotta believe that they are doing their best in such a situation.
You know what? I have a dream. The dream is that one day the world will be free of blame. So
Amen.
that
Right.
they like wake up tomorrow morning and nobody can blame again.
Yeah.
Can you imagine what would happen to the world?
Yeah. Yeah. I
And then,
can't. I can't. We have the lady that I mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, who says when you're on time, you're late. That same lady has this. She calls it TPR, and she works with the youngsters and in organizations as well. And she keeps kind of giving people this message. You know, take personal responsibility for everything.
yes, it's the choice.
Take that responsibility.
There is this beautiful quote from this chair here, which comes from Victor.
Frank.
Oh God, yes, yes, Viktor Frankl. Thank you. And it's all about the only thing that we can control in our lives is the way we respond to our personal situations.
Yeah.
I can't control you. I can't control the way you behave, the way you act, but I can control how I respond to everything in life. And that's my ability to respond, my responsibility. And I need to look after that carefully and make sure it's coming from here rather than from here.
Yeah.
Absolutely agree. Yeah.
So take that.
Keep on sending that message.
Okay, so we've got we're almost done. Can I just put in two more questions and we can quickly then wrap this up? We've got one from, where is it? Rafia Mahmood, and she says, we keep switching back and forth between different situations as human beings in everyday moments. How can we project this concept of the 5 years into our whole life? Whatever chair one chooses may differ as per one's day. You're going to be in of chairs and out of chairs. You're going to have different situations.
Yes.
How can you then generalize and say that we should try and stick to one or two?
You know what? I think it's all about observing yourself, because we go on automatic pilot and we're not even aware of what we're doing a lot of the time. When emotions start coming up, because our body, which never lies to us because our mind is constantly lying to us, our bodies will send us messages which are true about emotions which are rising. That is when we have to become aware of what is happening in our personal sphere. Because as the emotion rises, and it's often we don't take the pause before reacting, and so we get into the emotion, and then we misbehave. As we come out of the emotion, we have more choices. We can apologize. We can say, I didn't mean to either. We're talking about, in every moment, we're going to be somewhere here.
Yeah.
When we're here, we're pretty comfortable. When we're here, we're having emotions arising. We must be in touch with our bodies, because they will send us emotions which are messages about the emotion that is happening in us. And then we can step in and self-monitor and self-regulate. So this is going to be, up and down, up and down, up and down and down. But it's all about, where am I? What's happening? What do I need to do? Yeah. Constantly asking yourself the question, is this productive? And if it's not, then we have to move.
Fantastic. Louise, it's time. It's been an hour. I wouldn't want to take more of your time. We
No, it's
have two
been.
more questions,
Mhm.
but maybe I can email them to you, and then you can. Yeah, yeah, we'll just do that. Fantastic. So thank you
Yeah,
so much for coming in. Thank you so much for introducing us to this idea.
thank you for being
Yes,
such a.
yes. Thank you for your compliments. I'm sure everyone had a good time. We had a nice group. Thank you so much, everyone who came in and attended and shared their comments. This was a lot of
Yes.
fun. We're getting
Mm.
thank yous. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome, everyone.
No, definitely.
I
It was so special for me to be in touch with you there in Pakistan, and I send all my love to all of you there. As you're, I'm wishing you the very best of luck. You know, keep tuned into Italy and China because they've got messages sending you to help you.
yeah,
And look after yourselves in particular because you know we've been there, we've done it, we're sort of healing, we're coming out slowly, but it's a challenge. So
thank
thank you
you
so much for
so much,
inviting me.
Luis. You also please take care of yourself, and
Mm.
we will inshallah get in touch again in happier and better times.
Yes, indeed.
All right.
Yes. Look after yourself and your families.
Yes.
Uh, and you,
Yes.
Asif, and say hello to Carnelian,
I will.
everyone.
I will. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Super duper.